dating a man with the father wound affects your femininity. Hello and welcome to the Black Swan Relationship Academy. I am Chengi, your dating and relationship expert, here to teach you ladies how to present as a high value, high status, high worth woman that high value men absolutely adore. If this sounds good to you and you really want to get yourself a masculine energy man who is going to give, protect and cherish and treat you like the beautiful black swan that you are, then you are on the right channel. Okie dokie, let us begin. We're having a great time in Swan City on Facebook, where we're doing a free 30-day challenge. So do feel free to join Swan City. Jump in there as we are beginning to deal with the nice girl syndrome. We're in nice girl rehab. We're learning how to rehabilitate from being nice girls. So make sure you find yourself in the Swan City. Let's jump right in. So ladies, I have been doing a lot of stuff around healing and woundedness. One thing we have to embrace in this time is that we're living in a very broken and wounded world. A lot of the wounds that we're facing are generational. These things were not stemmed on time and in time. So we're not dealing with a small percentage of men who are broken. We're actually dealing with a majority of men that are broken, and actually finding a black swan man, a man who was raised in a two-parent household with a healthy father, because a two-parent household doesn't always mean that it's healthy or that the man in the household is healthy. But this is become almost like looking for a unicorn. However, it is not impossible to attract these men. Usually they are married and settled quite early in life because they really have a natural instinct around selecting a great mate and sticking around in a relationship because this was modeled for them. For the rest of us, many of us are going to have to deal with men who are wounded, with men with mother wounds, and we're going to have to deal very much so with men with father wounds. This is mainly men who are raised without a masculine influence. So it's quite possible for a single mother to have raised a son who has a lot of masculine energy based on the kind of men that she deliberately and consciously exposed her son to. There are ways that as women we can raise masculine energy men as single mothers, and I believe that I've been able to do that by the grace of God. My son is highly masculine, albeit he has some femininity tendencies that are contained, and he understands what they are, and he's had a lot of teaching and training around this. But I am so grateful that I had the knowledge, the wherewithal and the understanding, and I'll be on a podcast soon where I'll be discussing how we as women can raise more masculine energy men, because there's no point in hopping on about it at this stage when we actually have the opportunity to really begin to stem the flow and raise masculine energy men. But it's really important for us to recognize when we are dealing with a man who has a father wound, and really what to expect should we decide to proceed with that relationship. Ladies, I love the walk away message. I am the walk away queen. I have mastered the art of walking away, okay? But unfortunately, it is not the only strategy that we can use. Otherwise, many of us will be walking away all the time. We have to find ways that we can coexist with the wounds of another, especially if that person is on a personal development journey. Especially if that person is conscious and aware that they have some work to do on themselves. And thank goodness a lot of men are beginning to raise their consciousness about the work that they need to do on themselves. Not enough of them, unfortunately, but enough of them are starting to really think, perhaps I need to really look at myself and how I'm showing up in the world. It is evidenced by some of the comments that I get on my videos of men really saying, yeah, I'm really stuck in feminine energy and I'm really trying to work at it. This means that a lot of men are conscious because they will have experienced a lot of women walking away. They will have experienced not really being able to attract a woman and really be able to create great attraction in a woman. So they would have failed at a lot of hurdles by the time they come to the point where they're like, actually, I want that polarity. I want to be in a relationship with a woman that is beautiful and sexy and kind and sweet and feminine, because only feminine women really manifest these qualities, and often they're the ones that men want. Women that are gorgeous, women that are kind, women that are well presented, women that are in good shape and in good health emotionally, mentally. usually are the ones that every man wants, but they would have experienced a lot of rejection and they're ready to do the work. Some are ready to stay angry, join the manosphere, and just keep on going. But unfortunately or fortunately, as the case may be, aging is a wonderful thing, and many of these men will tire themselves out, because feminine energy in a masculine body, in a male body, is very exhausting in a man, because he is not wired to be processing feminine energy at the rate that he is processing. So often by the time they're ready to really settle into the masculine energy, they're usually much older, and they're either bitter or they are really kind of full of regret. And so we can perhaps leverage this situation if we're really able to, first and foremost, identify it and know how to position ourselves. And really, in most cases, in some cases, we will have to walk away and really, begin to position ourselves even more in a feminine way, so that we can really attract that masculine energy man who is naturally wired to be a little bit more masculine. Okay, so let's get into today's video. What are some of the signs and how does it affect your femininity? Well, let's just get to the bottom line. Whenever you are dating a man that has a father wound, he is going to be highly feminine. He's going to be sitting in his feminine energy. He's going to be operating out of his feminine energy. That is going to be his comfort zone. And as such, there's always going to be a sense of competition between you two, a competition for the emotional space, a competition for emotional understanding. And often men who have sat in feminine energy for a very long time feel highly entitled. These men are more comfortable with being cherished for their feelings and giving a woman sexual attention. This is the trade-off that they do, which is a bit of a role reversal. And this is a very, very natural when you're dealing with a man who especially was raised without a dad. So let's have a look at some of the points that I've got here noted so that you can help yourself to sort of figure it out. He has never seen a woman being cherished. Growing in our understanding of relationships, we have to see it happening, because our brain takes pictures and photographs at a very young age of what things should look like. How it should identify and sort your world starts at a very young age. If a young boy is raised in a family where there are no males, where there are no strong masculine protective males in the home, he is going to copy and mimic the movements of the feminine and the masculine energy women in his life. He is going to take a blueprint of mother. He's going to take a blueprint of sisters. He's going to take a blueprint of the life that he exists in, and eventually he is going to begin to recognize those protocols as his protocols. He's not going to be able to distinguish between what a man should be doing or what a woman should be doing. A lot of these men, and it really breaks my heart, really don't even know that they are feminine. They don't even know that their wiring is off, and it is impossible for a woman to tell a man that he's really operating in his feminine unless there's such a bond in a relationship and a friendship. But often this does not work. So many of them are completely oblivious to the fact that a lot of the protocols that they run their lives on are highly feminine. Why? Because they get older, they build muscle, their voices break, and they hang around men. And so because they're all a bunch of, feminine energy men just, kind of indoctrinating themselves, it starts to make sense. And then comes the loaded manosphere full of feminine energy leaders who actually teach men to be feminine, who teach men to have certain principles. But of course, not all men in the manosphere are teaching men to be feminine, just a lot of them that I have come across. But there are a lot of great male influencers who teach men how to be masculine, how to get it together, and how to be real men. Okay, so we just need a little bit of balance. But if a man has not seen it, if he has not experienced it, if it is not his daily reality to see a man at work, he doesn't know what it looks like. And so he is really going to struggle to cherish a woman, and he's going to internalize the cherishing of a woman, putting a woman's feelings as a priority, as him being weak and being controlled by the woman's feelings. A lot of these men who were raised without men truly believe that when a woman verbalizes her feelings about a situation, she is trying to control him. She is trying to, and usually they would have fallen perhaps into a narcissistic trap in a prior relationship where the woman was narcissistic, controlling, she was insecure, and because they had tried to be in service to her feelings that obviously cannot be controlled, they generally begin to match that with their core belief that a woman's feelings can actually, a way of controlling him, a way of making him lose the battle. So they don't know what it looks like. They did not see a man cherishing his wife for the sake of peace. And they didn't see that at work. They didn't see daddy taking care of mommy and making sure that mom is comfortable and happy. See, a lot of these things are taught and caught. Taught in that you have to say to a son, this is how it works, but caught by him seeing it. Just like how we were taught and caught language. We were taught how to put language in its proper form, making sure that the grammar is correct, it's spelled correct. We were taught these things. But how did we learn to speak? We caught it. We caught the sounds, we caught the language, and we speak it. It's the same thing as becoming a man, as becoming a woman, is you were taught it and you also catch it in the atmosphere. Now you can sit down and teach a boy how to be a man, but if he did not see it at work, it is going to be very difficult for him to place it in his psyche and actually see that, oh, paying attention to my woman's feelings is me being a gentleman, is me being a cherishing masculine man. He will always internalize your feelings when you share them with him as some way of trying to manipulate him, as some way of you trying to move the conversation away from that which is rational, logical, where of course he is going to feel like he has more power, and it's really then gonna become a power play with these men because they just simply have never seen it and will find it very, very difficult to cherish you for your feelings. The next thing is when you show a man who has never seen a woman respect a man some respect, often he internalizes that as weakness. Okay, a masculine energy man who was raised in the context of father and mother in a healthy relationship will immediately and instinctively and intuitively recognize that he is being respected by a woman, that she is not respecting him because she has no mind of her own, she has no sense of self-ownership. She's respecting him because she is perceiving him as the alpha masculine. Most of the men who are in feminine energy do not really know how to interpret respect. It is often interpreted as, she's weak, she's kind of doormat energy, she doesn't really know what she wants, and she's going to be good for me to walk all over, because they have never seen what it looks like for a woman to respect a man. And this is the same as when you submit to a feminine energy man, you're literally signing up for the most abusive relationship you can ever imagine, because they simply cannot metabolize that action because they never saw it happening in the home, because there was never a father who was there as a recipient of a mother's respect. They don't know it, they don't see it, and so often it is a sign of weakness and permission for them to trample all over your submission, for them to take advantage of your desire to respect them. And some of us feel like if I just keep respecting, if I just keep giving more respect, if I just keep showing him greater submission, he will eventually fall into his masculine and begin to cherish me. However, these relationships become very, very toxic because he simply does not have the software to process what he is receiving. And so in this instance, you really have to be able to recognize that and mirror what he needs. You need to be that other more woman with greater clarity, and you have to really make sure that he almost earns, which is really sad, because a man shouldn't have to earn respect. He should really just have it because he is a providing, a cherishing, and a giving and protecting masculine man. However, in this instance, you would have to wait for him to do something to prove to you that the respect you're about to give to him is worthy. He is worthy of it. And I know this upsets a lot of people, because they just feel like, well, you should just respect a man because he's a man. But unfortunately, when we're dealing with these men, we have to take our time to train them, to help them become more comfortable being masculine. This is about really praising them when they do something masculine, and really giving them the respect for something that they do. You see, the masculine man gains his respect from what he does, not who he is. Masculine energy finds value and worth in doing, and feminine energy finds value and worth in being. And so it's really, really, really very important that we begin to give respect, honor, validation when he does something, when he actually does something. We cannot be rewarding a man for saying stuff that makes us feel good. We cannot be submitting to a man because he says stuff that makes us feel good. We cannot be giving him all of this honor because he says something that makes us feel good. We have to wait on him to do something that makes us feel good, and then in this process begin to teach him to rewire his brain so that he begins to associate good doings with a reward from the woman that he desires. After a while, it takes a lot of patience to begin to help a man who has been seated in his feminine energy. It takes a lot of patience, and this is not something that I would go ahead and attempt unless he is a good-hearted man. You see, we have feminine energy guys who, by consequence of just not having a father in the home or seeing masculine energy, are the way that they are. But at the very core of them, they're good men. They desire to do what is right. They desire to be loving. They desire to do this, but they just are showing up more like the feminine than the masculine. These are the men that I'm referring to, that we can begin to work with, that we can really begin to program. We can understand, okay, this man, whenever I show him respect, whenever I lean back and let him lead, I find myself in a ditch. So this time around, I am not just going to follow when he leads. I am going to wait, see where he's taking us. And if I feel like it wins, then we're going to go, and then I'm going to praise him and validate him for being a great leader in this way. Rather than I am simply going to follow because I'm trying to be the high value feminine woman and I just have to hold my position. We have to be really wise, because it's really about the exchange of energy. For those of you who have done the energy mastery class, you will understand what I mean about having an equal exchange of energy. This does take a little bit more prowess, so do the Feminine Mastery Masterclass, book a call with myself or any of the coaches, and really understand what the flow of the feminine is, and how by being really wise and feminine, you can actually help a man sit in his masculine over time. This is not going to happen overnight, ladies, because you're literally you are unlearning, you're teaching, you're basically bringing him to a place where he has to unlearn all of the stuff that he has learned. And not all of it is bad. Some of it can stay because it's useful to the relationship. But it does take a great deal of patience, and ultimately a lot of affection, love, and compassion for him. But we need to be careful that we're not being nice girls in the process. Whenever you try to correct a feminine energy guy who did not have a father, he often takes he internalizes that as deep criticism. Whenever you try and say to a feminine energy guy or a man who grew up without a father, this is a need I have. Would it be okay if you met this emotional need? Often he internalizes that as criticism. He hears that as I am failing as a man. And often he is going to react to that. Usually by gaslighting. He's going to turn around and say, well, if you if it wasn't your fault, if you didn't do that, because he simply cannot internalize a woman asking a man for her needs to be met. This is something that he has never seen at work. It's something that he does not understand. It's a concept that is completely oblivious to him. I want you to think of it as an alien being asked to live in this culture and being asked to eat food through the mouth. if that's not how they eat, then that's not how they eat. So we have to really address this with a lot of compassion, and we have to address it with a lot of wisdom. What I don't want us to go and do, girls, is to take this video and go and try and fix a man. We're only going to do this with men that are willing, who are on a journey to personal development, who understand that they need to do some work on themselves. These are the men that we are happy to invest in, men who are aware, men you can have these personal development discussions with. These are the men that I'm referring to, not men who must win at all costs, right? And this is usually how the feminine energy guy who grew up without a father is going to internalize you asking for your needs to be met. This is how he's going to internalize you seeking to correct him. And now, I always teach you ladies how to correct a man in a feminine, high value way. Now, even if you do the protocols that I teach you, and even if you watch all of the videos I've taught you, they will not work on a man that has not done any work on himself and has the father wound. They simply will not work, because he was never validated as a man with his decisions. So he has to always be right. It is important for his manhood matrix that he is always right and always doing the right thing. And so any kind of criticism on any kind of level is internalized as a critique on his manhood. And as a result, you're gonna get a lot of reaction. Which is the next point. Men who grew up without a father never learned how to respond to situations as they unfold. They never learned how to really truly deal with crisis in a high value masculine way. They learned to be reactionary. Why? Because the feminine often tends to react. The feminine is reactive to situations. But the masculine, because of the masculine's ability to be rational, to be focused, to be logical, is better able often to be responsive to situations. So the feminine energy man, especially the one who was raised without a father, is very reactive. He will speak first, do first, and then metabolize later. So he will just open his mouth and say whatever comes out of it, whether it's rude, painful, difficult, aggressive. And you are sort of left reeling because you're thinking, oh my gosh, all I was asking for was a glass of water. All I was asking for was a bit more cherishing. All I was asking for was a little bit more attention. But the barrage and what you get back is like you've been decked on the floor. You have been accused of being and changing, and God, you're this awful human being. And really, it was just because he didn't necessarily mean to knock you out emotionally. He was just reacting to that response that I spoke about earlier, which is, I'm failing and this is an attack on my manhood. And as a result, they're very reactional. It's really very important for you to understand the reactional element of the feminine energy guy. Masculine energy men don't react to things. They tend to respond. They tend to be the calming influence. They tend to be in charge and in control. They understand their role as a leader is not to put fuel to any fire a woman begins, but actually to stamp it out. They understand, masculine energy men know that, you know, if there's a fire, it's their job to put water on it, not to put gas in it. Feminine energy men escalate the emotional temperature of a situation, because that is what they saw. This is what happens when feminine is with feminine. When women are in an emotional state, another woman comes and gasses up that emotional state, and we can get ourselves all emotional. We can all start crying, we can all start laughing, and that is what they saw. They did not see a masculine soothing the feminine. And the feminine, many of us did not see how a feminine is able to stroke the masculine, okay? Because the masculine understands that it is his job to soothe the feminine. And if he never saw daddy soothing mommy, soothing his sisters, and even soothing him, he will not be able to understand the role of the masculine in this situation. The next thing, you will know that you are dating a man who had an absent father and sits in his feminine because of how he relates to you. He will relate to you as one of the guys. He's going to expect you to have conversations, to respond, to react as a man would. He is not going to be comfortable with you being a feminine. He is going to be more comfortable with you when you roll with him, when you go on big adventures with him and you jump off things. This is very important for men, don't get me wrong. They're like women that they can have recreation with. Women that enjoy the things that they enjoy. The more a woman can enjoy the things her man enjoys, even better. And, you know, some women do, some women not so much. But he will internalize your unwillingness to go bungee jumping or enjoy football or, you know, sort of respond logically to everything that he says. He's going to expect you to have these conversations with him that are the same conversations that he would have. He wants you to do the same things. He doesn't understand why he should bring you flowers. This guy does not understand why flowers and romance are important to a woman. As long as he's paying the bills, paying for dinner, what more do women want? You know, he doesn't actually get romance. He doesn't get it. He doesn't see the value of it because he is always relating to women as if they were men, as if he's dealing with his guy friends, because he never saw it growing up. So this is also part of the thing when I get my clients saying he never buys me flowers, is because he didn't see it. It's because he never saw a man coming home with a bunch of flowers for mom and see the joy on mom's face and begin to see that, oh, this is something that women really love. There's no woman, even if a woman is not into flowers, she would still appreciate a bunch of flowers. This is really, really important. And only masculine energy men that were raised by a healthy and good father really understand the power and the potency of these small nuances within a relationship. And these men, obviously, like I've said before on all of my videos about feminine men, is they're really truly attracted to powerful, strong women. This is really a thing for them. They don't want to mess around with women that are not powerful or strong. Why? Because they grew up seeing a strong and powerful woman. Mom had to be that woman. She had to make up for the man that was absent in the home, and so they have no other narrative in their heads except a strong and powerful woman. And so if you are a very strong and powerful woman, if you are the kind of woman who is successful in your world and you get everything done, you are really going to be a magnet for this sort of man, because they simply, and when they do come to you and they do come and sweep you off your feet and show up as masculine at first, the very moment you start to show your more feminine side, Houston, we have a problem. Your feminine side will never be allowed in a relationship with such a man. I mean, what can I say, ladies? This is how it is. We can spend some time really working on our femininity and really spend some time attracting masculine energy men. But unfortunately, with the feminine and masculine principle, often we don't really get to figure out if a man is truly feminine or masculine until we have actually gotten further into the relationship, because some of us try to figure this out quite early and we can make some mistakes, because this is something that we need greater evidence along the way. Often we realize that the man that we've fallen in love with and the man that we are feeling great feelings for is actually feminine energy, because many of these men would have, through culture, learned to lead at first. They're the ones that lead, they're the ones that pay for dates, they're the ones that, but then that feminine energy starts to seep through when they're feeling a little bit more comfortable in the relationship and they kind of feel like, yeah, I think I've got this girl. And often we have to then look for ways that we can begin to leverage. And this is the point where I would say is best to probably get yourself a coach. If you are in a marriage with such a man, you do need help. You need somebody to hold you accountable, to help you regulate yourself, your feelings in this relationship, and sort of manage the dynamic between you and your partner. Call any of the coaches, of the marriage coaches, Coach Yvonne, Coach Edwina. They will help you regulate. You know, it's really very important that we get the support that we need. If we're already in love with a man who seems to be veering in, then having that compassion, having that understanding, having the skill, having the knowledge. You see, when we are healthy, we don't want to take on a man with way too much baggage, a man who's never done any work on himself. But sometimes if a man has done some work on himself and you are very healed, it is easier for you to leverage it for a season, and even better when you are getting the support that you need. Of course, if you cannot afford a coach, or you do not have the time, or the willingness at this point to come and be part of the Black Swan Nation, or part of the to get the coaching that you need or the therapy that you need, then we've got the Black Swan Relationship Academy. Go and download Emotional Mastery. Go and download the courses in the academy. Do the workbooks and really develop yourself and your skills. But I hope that this video was really very helpful. I will see you in my next one. And in the meantime, do take care of you. Love you lots. Bye-bye now.